Hey there, welcome to Community. My name's Tony, and it's so great to have you with us today. If this is your first time joining us, the band is going to kick things off for us in just a minute. Lyrics will be up on the screen so you can engage with the music however you'd like. Sit or stand, however you feel most comfortable. After that, one of our pastors is going to share a message with us. All in all, the service will last for about an hour. If you're new, make sure you head down to the black table in the corner of the cafe on your way out. We've got something just for you. If you're joining us online, wherever you're joining from, thanks for making Community a part of your weekend. Last thing, if you're in the building with us, we've got some awesome programs happening downstairs for your kids. They're safe, secure, and your kids are bound to have a blast. You've still got time to check them in. If you head down to the big blue wall in the main entrance, you can check them in there. And with that being said, we're gonna get started here in just a moment. So find your seats if you haven't already. Here we go.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Community Church. We're going to get started. You're welcome to stand and join us. Here we go. This is the day that you have made. Whatever comes, I won't complain. For all my hope is in your name, and now your joy awaits my praise. I give thanks for all you have done, and I will sing of your mercy and your love. Your love is unfailing, Lord, I am grateful. When I was down, you brought me out. You set my feet on higher ground. Here I stand, you are my God. Your faithfulness was my solid rock. I give thanks for all you have done. I will sing of your mercy and your love. Your love is unfailing, Lord, I am grateful. I give thanks for all you have done. I won't forget all the battles you have won. Your love is unfailing, Lord, I am grateful. Sing hallelujah, God above it all. Hallelujah, God, above it all. Hallelujah, God, unshakable. Hallelujah, you have done great things. You've done great things. Hallelujah, God, above it all. Hallelujah, God, unshakable. Hallelujah, you have done great things. You've done great things. Sing, I give thanks. I give thanks for all you have done, and I will sing of your mercy and your love. Your love is unfailing, Lord, I am grateful. I give thanks for all you have done. I won't forget all the battles you have won. Your love is unfailing, Lord, I am grateful.
Before we sing this next song, I just want to point out that one of the reasons we sing is because for many of us, we have found that God has done something wonderful in our lives. Not only do we find His grace and His mercy available to us, but He has given us a new kind of life of a different quality altogether. And that life means that we don't have to live in the past. We don't have to live in our shame. We don't have to live always thinking about what we've done wrong when we're trying to make our way through this life. But instead, we can rise above those things because of who Jesus is. And I would love for us to keep that in mind as we sing this next song together. Here we go.
I know who I am, 'cause I know who you are. The cross of salvation was only the start. Now I am chosen, I'm free and forgiven. I have a future, and it's worth the living. I know who I am, 'cause I know who you are. The cross of salvation was only the start. Now I am chosen, I'm free and forgiven. I have a future, and it's worth the living. I wasn't made to be tended in a grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. So why would I make a bed in my shame when a fountain of grace is running my way? I know I am yours, and I was made for more. Let's sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. You call out my name, I'll sing out your praise. Hallelujah. You buried my past, I'm not going back. Hallelujah. You call out my name, I'll sing out your praise. Hallelujah. You buried my past, I'm not going back. I wasn't made to be tended in a grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. So why would I make a bed in my shame when a fountain of grace is running my way? I know I am yours, and I was made for more. I wasn't made to be tended in a grave. I was called by name, born and raised back to life again. I was made for more. So why would I make a bed in my shame when a fountain of grace is running my way? I know I am yours, and I was made for more. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound
let's step down into my brokenness. Once I was lost, but now I'm found. Heaven has come to make us whole again. Oh, heaven has come. Greater love has none than this. Mercy poured out from eternity. Jesus, the Son of God, came down, giving his life away to set us free. Faithful is the one who has come for us. His promises are true. No matter what may come, we are not alone. God with us, Emmanuel. Even when the world gives way, nothing can separate us from his love. And there's no room for fear and shame. Here in the light of all he said and done, faithful is the one who has come for us. His promises are true. No matter what may come, we are not alone. God with us, Emmanuel. Oh, Emmanuel. You are faithful. You are faithful. Your word is true, every word. You are faithful. You are faithful. There is none like you. You are faithful. You are faithful. You are faithful. Your word is true, every word, every word. You are faithful. You are faithful. There is none like you. There is none like you. You are faithful. You are faithful. Your word is true. Yes, you are every word. You are faithful. You are faithful. There is none like you. Faithful is the one who has come for us. His promises are true. No matter what may come, we are not alone. God with us, Emmanuel. Faithful is the one who has come for us. His promises are true. No matter what may come, we are not alone. God with us, Emmanuel. Oh, Emmanuel.
Thank you for singing with us. You can have a seat.
All right, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday. So glad to be together again. My name is Tom. This is Allie.
Hello.
Well done.
Thank you.
So grateful that you've taken some time out of your weekend to be with us. If you are here visiting with us, maybe for the first time, a special welcome to you. We'd love to let you know about our Connect page. Our Connect page is communitychurch.net/connect. You can find that right on the QR code right in the seat back in front of you, or a screen if you're watching from somewhere outside this room. But the Connect page is the landing page for all of the things that we're going to mention up here this morning. Additionally, there's a form on the Connect page we'd love for you to fill out. If you fill that out online, we'll send you a gift card in the mail. But if you're the kind of person that prefers to do something in person, after the service, in the cafe, there's a table at a corner that has a banner that says, I'm new. Head over there, talk to one of our hosts. You can fill out the form there, and we'll give you a gift just for doing that.
Tonight at 6:30 is our monthly student night for our 6th to 12th graders. Yes. We have a lot of fun. It's a time for the students to connect. It's awesome. Also, if this would be your first time coming, I know it can be a little awkward to come to something for the first time, but there are always new students who come, so you would not be the only one. So I hope to see you there tonight at 6:30.
Yeah, just one reminder that all of our services are recorded and live streamed. So if you have a mobile device, we just want to recommend that you put that on silent. It's just very helpful. Additionally, if you came in with any children and if they need to get up and move around or whatever, they got to wiggle a little bit, this service is broadcast throughout the building, so there are other places you can go in case that needs to happen. But that's it for us. We have one more thing we do want to let you know about, but to do that, we need to bring up Mr. John Hewlin. Here he is. Yes.
Hey everybody. Before Lou comes up here to close our series Dealing with Doubt, we wanted to take just a few moments to talk about something for the next 3 weeks we're going to be doing as a church that could be super impactful for us as a church, but also for us as individuals. And that is our end of the year giving goal, which I know for some of you is about as exciting as filing your own taxes. But it's important. And so here's what I wanted to share with you as just we're kind of getting into this. Over the last 2 years, and we've celebrated this a lot, but over the last 2 years, we've seen incredible attendance growth. But our finances kind of haven't kept up with that, and we want that to be sustainable going forward. And that's part of the reason why we're doing this. So here's the ask. Over the next 3 weeks, we're looking to raise $200,000 above and beyond the usual giving with 100% participation, which is ambitious, but let me break that down for everybody. The 100% participation, this refers to people who, when you're telling people about what you're doing this weekend, you're like, oh, I went to my church. Oh, they had this great event at my church. Oh, you love the music at my church. If that's how you talk about community, that this is your church, this is where you call home, and you're a follower of Jesus, then that 100% participation, that refers to you. Which means that if you're here and today's your first time, or maybe you're kind of been coming a little bit here and there, but you're not sure about community, or maybe you're not even sure about Jesus just yet, that doesn't refer to you, all right? So this is more like a family meeting that you get to sit in and listen in on. It's good information. It's good for you to know how we talk about money here at Community. So you just sit back and just listen in. So that's the 100% participation. $200,000. What's that about? What's it for? We're New Yorkers, and that's a lot of money. I mean, Juan Soto has to take 2 plate appearances to make that much money. And so what is it for? It's for 2 things. The first one is for now. The second thing is for next. What's now? We love this building. It's a great building. It's over 70 years old, but you wouldn't notice that, or you wouldn't realize that because it's in great condition. But it needs a few updates. Let's just say that this building needs like a hip replacement, like the building version of a hip replacement. There's some great things going on, but we just need some wiring, some plumbing, some things that are not sexy, they're not fun, but they're just necessary. And so that's what a portion of that money is gonna go towards. The bigger portion, though, is actually gonna be for what's next. We don't know what tomorrow's opportunities might be, or opportunities in the next year, but what we do know is that if there was an opportunity, a fastball right down the middle, we'd have to keep the bat on our shoulder because we're just not prepared to jump at that opportunity yet. And so the thinking is that if we have money saved and ready to go, if that opportunity did present itself, whether that's a space, a staff member, or something else, we could capitalize on it. And that's the spot that we want to be. In business school, my professor, he said this one thing, always stuck with me. He said, there's no such thing as luck. What we call luck is preparation plus opportunity. If the opportunity presents itself, we want to be prepared. And so that's where the majority of that money is going to. And these are two of the things that God can do through your giving at the end of the year goal. But there's a second reason. It's what God can do to you if you lean into this goal as well. In Jesus' most famous sermon, the Sermon on the Mount, he spends the whole kind of middle section talking about money. And what he says is, don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, because that can fail you, that can fade away. Don't make your whole life about being comfortable here and using your resources all for that. But rather, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. Trust God with your resources. Lean into what God values. And that's the way to go, because that lasts forever. That impact continues. And then what he says after that is, he said, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Now, we've probably all heard the phrase, follow your heart. Who's ever gotten that advice from some well-meaning person? Do I take that job? Do I date that person? Follow your heart. And in the first century, that's kind of how people thought about things as well, is that the heart was what was driving the decisions in your life, what you value, what you prioritize. What makes what Jesus says here so radical is that he's saying that in the same way most of your life follows your heart can follow your giving. That by giving, Jesus says that can change what we value, what we prioritize, what we love. And that's the real why behind this, is that we want you to grow more like Jesus as you follow him. We want you to know the joy that comes from seeing money not as an end in and of itself, but as a tool for being involved in an impact far beyond your own life. We want you to know the joy that comes from walking in the generosity that God created you to embody. And we want you to know the joy that comes from hearing these stories that we'll talk about from time to time, about people's lives changing, and knowing that because you leaned in generously, that you play a part in all of those stories. That's what we want for you. And so this is not a campaign or a whole initiative of wanting something from you, but rather the driving heart behind this is something that we very deeply want for you, is to test Jesus in this and see that he is good. How does all this work out? Well, let me just say practically that it's about the participation, not the amount. What that might look like is maybe you've never given here at Community. This is your church, you're a follower of Jesus, but you've never given. Maybe that looks like having a conversation with God this week, and then sometime in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, putting $5 in an envelope that you were gonna spend on a Starbucks peppermint latte and putting that in there instead. And that's the step, that's testing Jesus, that's success, that's what it looks like. Or maybe you've given here and there before, and it looks like going online and giving $20 automatically through your credit card or checking account. Maybe that's what it looks like. Or maybe it's something entirely different. The main thing is to have a conversation with God, to test him in what he says, and to take that step sometime in the next 3 weeks. Because it's not just about all the great things that can happen through your giving, it's also about the great things that God can do to you as you give. And so that does it for me. Lou will be up here in a moment to finish up our series, Dealing with Doubt. So thank you very much, everyone.
So you guys enjoying the decorations throughout the building? Let's give it up for our team that decorated the whole building. Just to be clear, those right now, those are actually Thanksgiving decorations. And we're gonna repurpose them next week to celebrate Christmas. But I hope you're enjoying them. There were people here for hours and hours yesterday just really making some magic happen. So hope you enjoy that. If you're new here, my name is Lou. I'm one of the pastors here. I am so glad that you're here. Today, we're wrapping up a series called Dealing with doubt. It's the end of a longer series, so it might feel like you're kind of tuning in at the end of the program here, but I'll bring you up to speed so that you won't be lost. So here's how we'll start out. Over the last few weeks, we've been starting with a little exercise in uncertainty, and they've been fun, and it gets us kind of moving a little bit, and so we're going to do that again. I'll give you a statement, and you'll have the chance to vote on whether or not you think it's true or false, okay? Gets you to feel a little bit of uncertainty here. So here's the first one, okay? You ready? You don't have to play if you don't want to, but some people have to so that I'm not left here all on my own. All right, first one. Sea otters hold hands while they're sleeping. If you think that's true, raise your hand. If you think that's false, raise your hand. Okay? All right. That is true. Yeah, give it up for the sea otters. So it's like the Notebook. Okay, second one. In 1923, there was a zookeeper who taught his tigers to celebrate feeding time by touching paws in 1923. And this was how the high five was invented. If you think that's true, raise your hand. If you think that's false, raise your hand. That is false. But come on, that would be cool, right? Okay, last one. You and I are more likely to die on our birthday than any other day of the year. All right, a little morbid, sorry. If you think that's true, raise your hand. If you think that's false, raise your hand. Okay, that is true. That's true, yeah. Statistically, it's when you're most likely to die. I think it's because of things like partying and stress and there's a bunch of different factors which make it a little bit more likely than other days of the year. Okay, now, unless you're an expert on all of those random things, my guess is that at some point you are feeling a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of like, I wonder, right? Unless you're an expert in all of those different things, which I think none of us are. We call that doubt. We've defined doubt over the past few weeks as the feeling of uncertainty. It can be a lot or a little. It can be like if you look at it like it's on a spectrum here, we've got disbelief, which is false completely and I'm totally certain of it, or belief, like true, absolutely, yes, and I'm certain of it. These are both places of relative certainty, right? If that's true, then everything in between, like I don't know, probably not, that's all the land of doubt. That's where doubt lives. Now, we said over the last few weeks, in life, doubt's a helpful thing, right? It is helpful to lean into your uncertainty with the hope of getting to one side or the other. If a stranger invites you to come take a ride in their car and you're not sure, you should lean into that and ask some questions because you want to be either sure it's safe or sure it's not safe, right? You want to lean into that to get to a place of certainty. That's a helpful thing. If you're going to go walk out on a frozen pond this winter, you should lean into your uncertainty. If you're not sure that ice can hold you, you should think about how cold it's been, how thick is the ice, all that stuff. It's helpful. We recognize in life when you're not sure, ask some questions, lean into it. But the emotions get a little hairy when we bring that idea of uncertainty or doubt to church. A lot of us have been made to feel guilty or we feel shame whenever we've got some feelings of uncertainty about God or anything that relates to church or God or Jesus or religion. There are some weird emotions. And so the problem with that is we are forced to exist as if this middle place doesn't exist. And that becomes an issue because it teaches us, either directly or indirectly, that you've got to believe it all or you can't believe at all. And so if somebody kind of rattles a belief that you have, rather than kind of moving a little bit further, like maybe you're at like a yes and you're like totally into it, rather than going to like and just taking a step or two back, it may be enough to knock you all the way into the place of unbelief where it's like, hey, if I can't believe this thing, I can't believe any of it, right? Or maybe you're somebody who doesn't go to church and you're here today for the first time because you're not sure about this, and you would say, no, I'm here right now. And if that's you, we're glad you're here. But maybe the reason why you haven't stepped in the direction of belief is because you've been forced to function like this middle area doesn't exist. In other words, you think in order to take a step, you got to take a leap all the way over there. You got to go from believing none of it to believing all of it, just like that. And so over the past few weeks, we've been asking, like, what if we made room for doubt? What if we leaned into our doubt? And we've been looking at some of the teachings of Jesus and some of his followers, and what we've seen is that they lean into their doubt. They embrace their doubt. On week 1, Jesus talked about someone he called the greatest of all time. It was actually someone he was related to. It was a guy named John the Baptist, who had a reputation for being a person of great faith. And in a season of doubt, at his absolute lowest, Jesus spoke so highly of him. And what we said that week was that your doubts don't discredit your faith, which is probably the most important point, probably the most important week of the series. Because if that's true, if your doubts don't discredit your faith, then you have the freedom, we said, to admit your doubts. Don't pretend. Admit your doubts. Everyone say admit. Ready? Admit. Good. Admit your doubts. You can be real about it. You don't have to pretend. Then on week 2, we looked at a group of people who heard the teachings of Jesus. They didn't believe them. And then they went home, studied, looked for answers. And because of their doubt, because they leaned into their doubt, they actually came out believing. And so we said on week 2, engage your doubts. Lean into them. If you got questions, ask your questions. And you might find that you end up at a place of belief. Then on week 3, Tom was up here and he talked about the importance of learning to trust the plan learning to trust the planner rather than the plan, right? Learning to put your confidence in the person of Jesus rather than a specific outcome, which is huge when it comes to learning to trust God. And then last week, we looked at another story where someone takes a huge step of faith, and they immediately encounter obstacles. Everyday, practical, understandable obstacles. And last week we said, expect your doubts. Like anytime you take a step in the direction of faith, you're gonna run into an obstacle, a challenge. And so expect it, be ready for it. Everyone say expect, ready? Good, very nice. Okay, so we're closing the series this week and we're landing at a place that I think is important, especially as we conclude this whole thing. And here's why. So when I was in high school, I played basketball, and I was a decent basketball player in high school. I played point guard. The point guard is the person that kind of starts the play, calls the play, runs the play. And I did that not because I was anything special, but because I was the shortest guy on the team, and that's who plays point guard. But I played in high school, and one day, the football coach approached me and said, hey, we don't have a backup quarterback for the team, and we need a quarterback for the JV team. You call the plays on the basketball court. Maybe it's kind of like the same thing, and you can do it on the football field. Why don't you come play football? And so I said, yeah, sure. And I decided to play football that year. And I think pretty quickly, both of us realized that was a really bad idea. One, because I didn't have a good arm. I couldn't throw the ball very far or accurately. And two, what I did not realize is that I couldn't see over the offensive linemen. And it makes sense now, most quarterbacks, especially in the NFL, they're really tall. It's because you have to see over the offense. I didn't know that. Couldn't see what was going on the field. But it's fine because I didn't play much anyway. I remember the first time I was put in the game, in a varsity game. I was terrified. I was given the play. I was told where all the receivers were going to go. I called the play in the huddle. We got out there. And I had different options. But because I was so nervous, because I was so flustered, I knew there was one place I was going. There was one guy. We had a receiver. His name was Mitch. He was 6'3". He was fast. He was strong. He was aggressive. He had enormous hands. I knew the ball, it doesn't matter what happens, the ball is going in that direction because I've got the best chance of something good happening if we go in the direction of Mitch. And so we snapped the ball. I dropped back. I couldn't see him. I didn't know where he was. I just knew where he was supposed to be. I basically closed my eyes and let it fly. And he caught it. And it was great. I was thrilled. The play didn't matter. I wouldn't have been in the game if the play mattered, but I was happy he caught the ball. It's funny, actually. The first service today, the 8:30 service, a guy I went to high school with who was one of the other wide receivers, was at the service. He texted me after the service. He goes, "I was open." Couldn't see him. So, so with this whole idea of like faith and doubt, the reason I'm telling you that story is like, is there a play to run when you've done all the other things? When you've looked at all the other options? Maybe you're trying it, right? Maybe you're admitting your doubts, you're trying to engage your doubts, you're expecting your doubts, you learn to trust the plan or not the plan. Like, but is there like, okay, life's crazy. Is there just someone I can throw to? Is there a play I can run, something that's got the best chance of me getting through this season of doubt or through this doubt that I'm facing? I think there is. And we see it in the life of one of Jesus's closest followers who went through a really difficult season of doubt. His name was Thomas. He's known as Doubting Thomas. If you've ever heard that name, this is that guy, which is kind of sad for him because he did a lot of really cool things. For most of his life, he was faithful, courageous Thomas, but he had this one episode, and so he got stuck with a nickname. Thomas followed Jesus faithfully for 3 years. And at that time, because Jesus was literally physically traveling, Thomas had to give up his livelihood to go follow Jesus. It required a lot of sacrifice. There was a lot of learning. He was challenged over and over and over again, but he made tremendous progress over the course of 3 years. But if you know the story, you know about 3 years into it, things took a pretty dramatic turn. Things were going really well. Jesus was growing in popularity. People were listening to his teachings. They were following him around. But all of a sudden, things turned. And eventually, he was sentenced to death. Now, he told his followers pretty early on that this was going to happen. He said he was going to die. And he tried to prepare them for it. But when it happened, nobody was ready. He was killed on a cross. He had nails put through his hand. He had a spear put in his side. Like they wanted to see if he was still alive when he was hanging there. So they stuck a spear in his side just to make sure he was dead. And when he died, this movement that had gotten so much momentum, it died with him. It ended. Like there have been movements throughout human history where a leader starts something and then the leader is killed and the followers are like, let's keep the movement going. This was not that story. As soon as Jesus died, his followers went into hiding because they were afraid that the same thing was going to happen to them. The ones who were fishermen, like went fishing again. Like when he died, that was it. Because he claimed to be the heart of the movement. So if he was going to die, there's nothing to do anymore. But if you know the story, on Easter Sunday, Jesus came back. He rose from the dead, just like he said he was going to. And he meets with these followers, and this is where we pick up the story. When he meets with them for the first time. This is recorded by John, who was one of those followers who was with Jesus for 3 years leading up to this. It says, on the evening of the first day of the week, when the disciples were together, those original followers, they're all together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders. They were afraid that the same thing that happened to Jesus was going to happen to them. They locked the doors. They're not bold, courageous movement people. They're scared. Jesus came and stood among them. Like he's in the room. They thought he was dead, and all of a sudden, he's in the room with them, and he says, peace be with you. Like, this is the formal religious greeting. He's saying, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Which, P.S., if you die and you come back from the dead and show up among people that think you're dead, this is a great way to start the conversation. Like, hey, it's okay. After he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples were overjoyed, thrilled when they saw the Lord. Remember that. Remember that. Now, the story continues. Now, Thomas, one of the 12, one of those original 12 disciples, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. Like, man, that's a bummer. If there's one thing you don't want to miss, it's the return of Jesus after he's risen from the dead, right? Like, we don't know where he went. He probably went out to get milk or something, but he's gone. And I'm sure this is frustrating. So the other's disciple, Jesus shows up for a little while, apparently moves on, leaves, we don't know, but he left to go do something else. And they say to Thomas when he comes back, hey, guess who showed up while you were gone? We have seen the Lord. They're overjoyed because they've seen Jesus come through on what he's said. Thomas, not overjoyed. He's frustrated and confused. And he says to them, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side. Unless I see that, he says, I will not believe. Now, if we're like looking at that scale of belief and unbelief, right, or unbelief and belief, he's not really doubting. He's pretty much just not believing. This is like a flat out rejection with a condition, but it's a rejection. It's like, no, I don't believe it, and I won't believe it. They're overjoyed. It's working for them. It's not working for him. But the story continues. We're told a week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, ready? Here's some familiar language. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, peace be with you. Then he turns his gaze over to Thomas, and he says to Thomas, put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe. This is literally the word not believing. He's saying stop not believing and believe. Like here's what you asked for. And so Thomas replies, of course. Like what is he going to say? He says, of course. My Lord and my God. He sees what he needed to see. Then Jesus told him, because you've seen me, you believed. But blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Then John kind of sums up his biography about Jesus and this story with this little concluding part of his whole book, right? This is the end. It's at the end of chapter 20. There's one more part. It's like he forgot one more thing. But he's summarizing everything that's been written in his book. And he says, Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. Like other things happened too. But these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. In other words, he's telling us, like here's the story of Thomas, here's some other stories too. These are written so that you can believe. Like here's an example to follow if you're someone who wants to believe. So that's the story. And I hear that story, and my question is, what's the play? Right? Like what's the thing to do? What do I walk away with? What exactly was written so that I can believe? What's the example to follow here? Here's a guy, Thomas, who's wrestling with doubt. If I'm wrestling with doubt, I do what Thomas does. What is that exactly? It seems to me like Thomas gives him an ultimatum, right? Like, unless you do this, I won't believe. Here are the terms and conditions of my belief. Unless Jesus shows up and does this, I'm not on board. It's like he puts himself, it seems like he puts himself in the driver's seat and decides he's going to call the shots. And Jesus, now it's up to Jesus. He can either do what Thomas says or Thomas is not on board. So is that like what's happening here? Is that the play to run? Is that the place to throw the ball? You're not sure what to do. Do you just just crank it up? Like just turn on the heat. Okay, here are the conditions of my belief. When I was younger, I told you I liked to play basketball. And I can remember distinctly praying as a young child that I would wake up and be super tall. And I even kind of worked out the details with God. Like part of this whole thing was, okay, I know I can't just pray and wake up super tall. Otherwise, everyone's going to be like, well, what happened? Why are you so super tall? Then I have to tell them, okay, I said this prayer. And then everyone would want to be super tall. And then God would be like, well, now I have to do it for everybody else. So I was just thinking, it's fine. You make me super tall, but then just erase everyone else's memory so they think I was always this tall. Like I worked out the details, and I was so excited about it. I wasn't sure whether that was going to happen. It didn't, in case you haven't figured that out. So maybe I should have just cranked up the heat and just been like, all right, unless I grow a lot, I'm not going to believe. Ball's in your court. Like if I'm following Thomas's example, it seems like that maybe is the play to run. And I'm joking, obviously, but maybe you've heard different versions of this story that are not funny. Or maybe it's part of your story and it's not funny. Like maybe it's not, I want to wake up and be 7 feet tall. Maybe it's, unless you heal this person that I love, I will not believe. Or maybe it's, unless I finally get this job, I will not believe. Or maybe it's, unless I finally find the person I'm looking for, I will not believe. Unless I get into that school, I will not believe. Like maybe you've got your own terms and conditions. Maybe you've done that. And maybe your faith crumbled because he didn't. Like he didn't meet your ultimatum. So what do we do here? What's the example to follow? Is Thomas just getting special treatment because he happened to be really close with Jesus? This is why it's so important to understand verses in the Bible in light of the rest of the things that Jesus said, right? In fact, sometimes people ask why we don't put the little verse number next to the verse chapter there. And the reason is because I'd love for you to just go read the whole chapter on your own. But we can get into trouble when we just take out little bits and pieces and miss the whole picture. So this happened with Jesus and his followers about 11 days earlier, like 3 days before Jesus came back. He sat down with them and he had a meal with them. And at that meal, we call it the Last Supper. It was his final meal with his closest friends. And he taught them a lot. He told them a lot of what was about to happen. He was trying to prepare them for the fact that he was going to be arrested, that he was going to die, and that he was going to come back. And at that dinner, he said he was going to be gone for a little while. And then after a little while, he'd come back. And they would experience joy. It would be hard. They would grieve, but they would experience joy when he came back. And they don't understand. They've got all these questions. They're like, what does he mean by a little while? And then he's like, okay, you're asking all these questions. And he goes into it and explains it even further. But he most clearly says it at the end of chapter 16 here. He says, now is your time of grief. I'm about to die, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. Do you remember what John said? I read it before. Remember what John said happened when Jesus showed up the first time when Thomas wasn't there? It says, we'll put it back up here. It says, the disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. John's saying, look, guys, like he's connecting the dots. They're saying, Jesus did what he said he would do. He made them a promise at that meal, and he's come through on his promise. He came through for all of them except the one who wasn't there. There was one of them who had not yet seen him and was still wrestling with feelings of confusion. There was one of them who didn't have the joy that they had, because for one of them, Jesus didn't do what he said he was going to do. Or we could say for Thomas, who wasn't there, there was something Jesus said he would do, and he had yet to come through. Or we could say there was something Jesus said would be true. You're going to see me again, and you'll experience joy, and no one will take that joy. But Thomas had not yet seen that to be true. For Thomas, Jesus hadn't followed through with what he said. It was not an ultimatum. Thomas was not giving Jesus an ultimatum. Thomas is waiting for Jesus to follow through on his promise. And so this is where we need to be careful, right? Sometimes, especially in the church world, sometimes people will say, this is what I want from God, or this is what God has to do, and I'm going to trust him enough for it. And then he doesn't do that, and your faith falls out from under you. And maybe it's because of stories like this, understood apart from the original promise that Jesus made. Like what I'm trying to say is we have to be careful that we're not trusting God to come through on promises that he never made to us. Thomas was told Jesus was going to see him again. And so he's still in this season of doubt. What does he do? What's the play that he runs while he's waiting? Before I tell you, is it possible that for you, at the source of your doubt, is it possible that there was something Jesus said would be true, and you have not yet seen it to be true? And maybe that's at the source of your doubt. And it's not that he's going to show up and show you the holes in his hands, because he didn't say that to us. But he did say some other things. Right? Like maybe you were told you could have peace if you prayed for it. And you prayed, but there's no peace. Or maybe you're told that you could have joy, but there's no joy. Or maybe you were told you could have hope, but there's something about it that hasn't quite sunk in. Or you were told that if you connected with some other people, if you opened your life up to some other people, you would grow together in community because iron sharpens iron, but it's not happening, and there's no chemistry in your group, and there's something you were told would be true, but you just haven't seen it. You were told God could take your horrible circumstances and use them for good, but you're like, where? And that's at the source of your doubt. There's something he said would be true, and you just haven't seen it to be true. Just like Thomas. And so, what do you do? What's the play to run? What does Thomas do? I read it before. It says, a week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. A week later. All of them went from intense confusion and disappointment to being overjoyed. Thomas is still intensely confused and disappointed, and he keeps showing up among these people who are overjoyed. For an entire week. And can you just imagine what that was like? They get it, he doesn't. And maybe you've been there before. There's other people that are like, yeah, I believe this, and I feel so this, and I love this, and you're just like, yeah, good for you, not for me. I just haven't seen it to be true yet. Right? That's what he's been going through for days, and yet he comes back day after day after day after day. It's really as simple as that. Thomas keeps showing up in spite of his doubt. He brings his doubt, his emotions, his baggage, his hurt feelings, his disappointment, and he shows up among these people that are overjoyed, that seem to get it. And that I'm convinced is the play for us. Maybe there's something that you've been told is true, and for you just haven't seen it to be true. What do? You just keep showing up. You just keep showing up. And because Thomas keeps showing up, Jesus shows up. In other words, don't quit on your doubts. Don't quit on your doubts. And maybe showing up for you, maybe it's as simple as showing up to church, literally physically showing up to church. Maybe things were starting out really well, and then it was boom, and something happened. And it got complex, and it got hairy, and it hurts, and it's hard. And so there's this part of you that wants to pull away. I'm sure Thomas didn't want to be with the people that were continuing to just celebrate in their joy, but he kept showing up. Keep showing up. Keep showing up until the light turns on. Keep showing up until Jesus shows up. Or maybe it's not literally coming to church. Maybe it's your prayers. Maybe you're trying to pray on your own, and you're told okay, if you start to pray, this will happen, and this will happen. You'll start to grow, and you're like, yeah, I'm just not seeing it. What do? You just keep doing it. Just keep showing up. Don't quit on your doubts. Maybe it's in a group. You were told you're going to grow in a group, and it's going to feed your faith like nothing else, and you've tried it, and then there's the person that dominates the conversation, and there's some awkwardness, there's no chemistry. What do? You just keep showing up. Stick with it. Join another group the next. Just keep showing up. And I have seen this work so beautifully, and I have seen the exact opposite. I have seen the story over and over again. of people who are there. Something happens in life. Maybe they get stuck in their thoughts. Maybe something happens relationally. Maybe something happens in their circumstances. But their faith plummets and they hit a valley of doubt. But they just keep showing up and they're real. They don't pretend. They admit it. They're like, I'm just not there, but I'm not going to stop showing up. I'm not emotionally. I'm not where I want to be. Spiritually, I'm not where I want, but I'm just going to keep showing up over and over and over again. And then you see it, and the light goes on. And it's like Jesus shows up and is like, here. And it makes sense. And they're at a place they wouldn't be if they had quit along the way. But I've seen the exact opposite. I've seen people over and over and over again. It's like going so well, and then something happens. And instead of just like showing up and being real, like, I don't even want to be here right now, they go the other way. And it's like, oh, what happened to them? Where'd they go? And you hear something happened or they're questioning something and you see them less and less and less and less. And the story is a different story. Thomas's story would have been radically different if he didn't keep showing up, if he quit on his doubts. The beautiful thing about this story, yet again, is that we get to see another side of Jesus because Thomas doubted, right? We see that Thomas didn't quit on Jesus, but Jesus didn't quit on Thomas. He showed up. He went back for the one, which is consistent with the way that Jesus operates. Over and over and over again, we see him show concern for the one. And maybe that's the thing you need to hear today. Like in the hairiness of your situation and your doubt, like Jesus, he goes back for you. He comes after you. This is not the story of Thomas's pursuit of Jesus. This is the story of Jesus's pursuit of Thomas. And so to kind of like back out, zoom out a little bit and look at the way John closes this whole thing. I'll put this verse up here again. I think it's important to keep this in perspective. John summarizes after this story, and he says, all this was written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the long-awaited hero, the Son of God, and that by believing, you may have life in his name. You. In other words, who is this for? It's not so God's like, got another one to believe my story. Like, this is for you. And when we talk about life, when John uses the word life, he's not talking about going to heaven when you die. He's talking about everything Jesus said, like these things that he wrote. Like how Jesus said, you know that hunger deep within you? I am the bread to that hunger. I am the water to the unquenchable thirst in your soul. I am the rest to that sense of striving within you, like you just haven't found what you're looking for. That he said that's life more abundantly. And what John's saying here, and really the heart of this series, why are we dealing with doubt? Are we dealing with doubt so that we don't doubt? I guess, but it goes further than that. Are we dealing with doubt so that you don't doubt and believe? Sure. But what is the point of believing? It's believing so that you may have life, like so that you can experience what Jesus said. In other words, all of this is for you. And Jesus goes back for Thomas. This is at the heart of the story. It's about what God has come to offer you. And learning to trust that. So, I want to end the series and the morning in a way it's a little bit different, but something that we've done before. We're going to take communion together. And if this is not something you're comfortable doing, please don't feel any pressure to participate. But on the rack, in the chair in front of you, if you're on the end, there should be a little tray there. If you can get the tray that's in front of you, not under you, that would be great. And then take one of those little cups, hold on to it, and pass the tray down to the people on the end of your row. If you need some help, raise your hand. We've got some hosts in the back that'll make sure that you have what you need. And you can hold on to it, and we'll do it together. If you know the story, Jesus sat that night that he told his followers he was going to come back for them. That same night at that same meal, he took bread and he broke it. And he said, "This is my body, which is broken, not so that you can have something to do together at your religious meetings, but he said, this is my body that's broken for you, for you." As if to say, this is how far I'll go for you. And he gave us a way. He doesn't just say like to remember that or try to believe that, but he gave us a way to experience it tangibly, to taste it, and to be reminded that all of this, what we call the gospel, which means good news, that all of it is about what God has done and will do for you, for you. It's the story not of our pursuit of God, but of God's pursuit of us. And for 2,000 years, with all different kinds of cups, people have been meeting together, followers of Jesus have been meeting together with their doubts, with their baggage, with their hurt feelings. They've been coming together to remember God's pursuit of them. And so let's do it together. On that night, Jesus took bread and he broke it. And he said, "This is my body, which is broken for you. Do this to remember me." And in the same way, he took a cup. And he said, "This is a cup. This cup represents my blood that will be poured out, that will be spilled." He's saying, "I'm going to bleed for you, to show you how far I'll go for you. Do this and remember me." I'm going to ask the band to come back up here. We're going to sing one more song together. But all of this is to remind us, not just how to deal with doubt, not just how to try to believe better, but of God's pursuit of us. How far Jesus will go for us to show us the extent of his love for us. Let's pray. God, we're grateful that you're patient with us as we deal with our doubt. That you remind us and have given us a tangible reminder to take over and over again to remind us that you are in pursuit of us. And God, I believe that all of us here, no matter where we are in our journey of faith, each one of us, you are in pursuit of. And so would you give us eyes that can see that, and ears that can hear that, hearts that can understand that, and help us to respond. Show us your goodness. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
You're welcome to stand and join us.
Speak to me when the silence steals my voice. You understand me. You understand me. And come to me in the valley of unknowns. You understand me. You understand me. You understand me, God. You understand me. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I stop all negotiations with the God of all creation. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought you were. I believe understand me. You understand me. And help me reach the faith that's underneath. You understand me. You understand me. You understand me, God. Oh, you understand me. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I stop all negotiations with the God of all creation. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought you were.
Sing, I will rest in the Father's hands.
I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. I will rest. I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I stop all negotiations with the God of all creation. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I stop all negotiations with the God of all creation. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought you were.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving.